This is the lobby of the Omni Shoreham Hotel here in Washington, D.C. All this going on behind me is the annual Conservative Political Action Conference. Now, they bill themselves as the largest annual gathering of conservatives in the country. Students, activists, politicians, lobbyists, and what they do every year is try to map out the road ahead for the conservative agenda. They've got their work cut out for them this coming year, having lost the House and the Senate and the White House. They are out of power and, in a way, out of vogue. So I thought we'd come here and see if we can get them to articulate what they have to do, what they want to do, and how they think they will go about doing that. So let's go in and see what we can find. Look at the bottom of the steps, it's our old friend Heath Hall. He podcasts too at firstfriday.com, and I often use Heath as my guide through the world of conservative. He has described it, and we'll get back to this in a minute, as a three-legged stool, because the three tenets of the conservatives are social conservatives, defense conservatives, and fiscal conservatives. We'll get back to that in a minute. The one thing I do want to say right off the bat is I was in the gift store getting a Coke, and so I look down when I get to the cash register, and they have these 2009 President Barack Obama inaugural candy bars. I would think that's probably not selling well here today.
Probably not a good item on the ticker today for those guys.
Let's get back to the three-legged stool. Explain what we're talking about.
Yeah, well, the political spectrum of the conservative movement is really a larger movement than just conservative. There are some people that you could identify as a total conservative, but then there are individuals that are very focused on their particular issue, national security or defense being one. Social conservative issues, of course, that includes the life issue, the marriage issues, things to that nature. And then the third, and probably the one that most people are focusing on at this current time in our country, are the financial issues, the fiscal conservatives, the business conservatives, small business issues, and those really are the three main components that make up the conservative movement. And sometimes it causes problems because not all those groups agree on certain things in other areas. Sometimes it allows for a really strong unification if they are involved in
or aligned up, which we didn't have in this last election, if you remember. Senator McCain did not really appeal to the social conservatives. We're in the middle of an unpopular war, so your defense conservative argument sort of falls apart. And the Bush administration in 8 years sort of ruined the fiscal conservative mantra, so they were up against the wall.
Well, I think that if you ask most people here, they would say there were no conservatives running in the 2008 election.
So let's look forward now, and that's the purpose of these annual conferences. This has always been a fairly uneasy alliance between the three factions. How do they bring themselves back together? What do you think they have to do in terms of a strategy looking towards 2010?
Well, I think there are three things that will bring them back together. Nancy Pelosi, Harry Reid, Barack Obama. Those three individuals pretty much control the foundation of American government at this point, and they're about as far from being conservative as you can get. And so I think that those three individuals are going to be putting forward legislation, such as the stimulus bill that we just had passed recently, maybe nationalize health care, maybe nationalizing the banks, maybe reducing the spending on defense and national security. And those, I think, are going to be the elements that help to unify the conservative movement together and move forward. The other thing for 2010 is there needs to be strong conservative candidates. If you want to get the conservatives behind a candidate, they need to share a lot of the principles and values of the conservative movement. And like we just mentioned, there weren't a lot of those in the 2008 cycle. But I think that recruiting strong conservatives will be an important aspect, too, to unify the group.
All right, well, that's what this conference is all about, so let's go downstairs, take a look at some of the groups that are pitching the people who are registered in the conference and find out what's going on down there. This is the exhibit hall because, you know, you can't actually have a convention without an exhibit hall. Now, some of it, you know, is serious business. Like, you can't push a conservative agenda without a smartphone. Some of it is kind of kooky.
own a company called the Cruise Authority. We put on conservative cruises that are fundraising cruises for different political organizations. We work with National Review, the Weekly Standard, Freedom Alliance, the NRA, and other political organization, and it's a chance for the speakers to come and their constituents, donors, subscribers, readers to meet the speakers personally, hear them speak, ask them questions, have dinner with them. So it's a really great experience for people.
And of course, just like we're here, you can't have any kind of event anymore in Washington, D.C. or anywhere that's involved in politics without Bloggers Row. So tell me about Young Americans Foundation and the poster.
Well, we decided to put this out for people because we understand that this really draws the conservative base. We're trying to recruit young people into the media outlets all around DC. So we put them in different outlets and train them as journalists.
All right, so let's bring ourselves back to reality for a minute and get a big 50,000 foot view down into what we started talking about. Joining us, of course, needs no introduction. We started off the piece by saying, you know, the Republicans are in a tough spot. They're up against the wall. They lost the election badly. What do? That's what they're talking about here today.
Well, the first thing you have to do is figure out what they believe. You know, is it the party of Mike Huckabee? Is it the party of Rudy Giuliani? You know, who are Republicans? That's the first order of business. And then they got to wait for Obama to screw up really bad. I mean, in electoral politics, you actually don't get anywhere until there's an opening, and there's not an opening until the guy who got elected is unpopular. So they've got a lot of work to do. I think failure is a good thing, or can be, because it forces you to confront what you really believe and decide what really matters. I'm confident in 5 years they'll be back on their feet.
You think that's what the primary conversation is going to be here at CPAC?
You know, I don't know. I literally just walked in the door, but I hope it is. I mean, I hope conservatives, who are the soul of the Republican Party, rededicate themselves to their mission, which is personal freedom and limited government.
So that's what's going on inside the Omni Shoreham Hotel here. Conservatives getting together, trying to map out where they go from here. To be a little bit metaphorical about it, it's the end of February. Still a little cold here in the nation's capital. It's a little cold for them too. They're out of power. They're out of favor. Their message has become a little stale. They have to find themselves and maybe try to warm things up a little bit. In Washington, D.C., I'm Scott Walterman.